clergy. After that, we shall have the casket, followed closely by the family and His Excellency, the President. So, if I may kindly request that the family, we may begin to make our way so that when the casket is being loaded, we are ready to get into the vehicles and proceed.
Nyikwara mogia juang, akwayo ugi muolo, ni mondo wabeda kama wantiere no, wangi proceedings TV, wawe mondo familia, odhikendgi nikech kachatin, okwanyal chopo wate. Akwayo wakwaya gi muolo, nikech wan joma wangwana, wabeda uru kama wantiere, wawe mondo gin gidhiyo, wangi proceedings TV. Akwayo umana gi muolo, akwayo ugi muolo kabisa. Akwayo ugi muolo nyikwara mogia juang. Wabeda uru gi kwe. Mondo wa follow the proceedings TV.
The pall bearers leading the way, closely followed by what follows is President, then the rest of invited guests. Remember, this is going to be a private affair at Kango Ka Jaramogi. The family has requested, because of the space that is actually available at Kango Ka Jaramogi, just to allow family members, high-ranking government officials, and those invited to attend the ceremony, the private ceremony that will be happening there. That is the ceremony of interring the remains of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. That has always been the case, even when his son, Fidel Macarius Odinga, died. It was just a ceremony of a select few who were allowed into that home, and that is mainly because of the space that is actually available there. Just take you through some of the things that have actually been talked about by the leaders who stood and spoke about the former Prime Minister, talking about the political class, of course, describing him as a mentor par excellence, a teacher who taught most of them how to do politics, how to navigate through the murky field that is Kenya's politics, how to ensure that indeed they remain afloat. One of the key elements that have actually been brought to the fore has been that of the former ODM Deputy Party Leader Wycliffe Ambetsa Oparanya was pointed out clearly that indeed one of the messages that the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga told him was that never sever bridges, never burn bridges, and also there are no permanent enemies in politics, there are no permanent friends in politics. A mantra that the former Prime Minister lived by himself, and of course ensured that even in difficult situations, times when people thought that they will never talk to this politician or the other politician, he always had that opportunity of or that skill of mending fences and finding a common ground in terms of ensuring that indeed this country moves forward. The president, of course, moving the crowd with revelation of finer details of exactly what happened in the last 3 months. The president saying that he was concerned about the former premier's health, and he indeed asked the premier to seek the best available medical attention. And of course, there were a number of options, and eventually he decided that he's gonna go to India for treatment. He says, of course, in his wisdom and of course the powers bestowed upon him, he said that the government, he assured the family of the former premier that indeed the government will take care of any cost that are actually needed in terms of ensuring that the former premier is taken care of. And indeed, he says he was abreast on a daily, almost on a daily basis, of exactly what was happening in India and the treatment that indeed the former premier was undergoing. He also says that he also recounts on the day, of the fateful day when we lost the former premier. He says he received a call from Uhuru Odinga, the elder brother to Raila Odinga, and then shortly after he received a call again from Uhuru Odinga, and then he tried calling Raila Odinga's daughter Winnie, who has been by the father's side for quite some time, and then shortly after Winnie called back. Shortly after, of course, it was very clear or evident that indeed we had lost the former premier. President William Ruto, of course, also revealing final details of the last moment engagement with the former premier in terms of just what he wanted for this country. He says the former premier, again in his true element, was worried about this country's position as a third world country, and one of the resolve they had actually made together with the president and the former president Uhuru Kenyatta was to find ways of ensuring that they moved this country from third world state to a better position. And he says part of the issues they had actually discussed on was infrastructural development and general development of the country. And he says that the former premier had actually sought the services of a former of a renowned professor, Japanese professor, who was to come and find a solution in terms of giving a structured steps of how the leaders and of course the government would actually find ways of ensuring that indeed this government, this country moved from its current state to a better state. President William Ruto also revealing that indeed that is a commitment he undertook to ensure that indeed is actualized. And key amongst the issues that they had actually discussed, he says, was the extension of the SGR from Naivasha all the way to Siaya and all the way to Malaba. He also says that the dueling of Rironi, the dueling of the road from Rironi all the way to Eldoret and to Malaba, and of course also ensuring that it passes through Kericho all the way to Busia. Those were some of the highlights of the discussions, just to ensure that indeed the vision and the desires of the former premier were actually met in terms of ensuring that indeed this country moved to the next step. But one of the things that have actually been discussed here is the need to keep the country first. Each and every leader has spoken to what the former premier believed in, and even the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Masika Wetangula, saying that after they lost the 2017 general poll, and he thought that everything was actually lost. He says that the former premier called him and another leader, and they went all the way to South Africa for a week. And he says that the message that constantly came from the former premier was about the need to ensure that indeed this country remained united, this country remained stable, that indeed he says that the country, the unity of the country superseded any other interest, according to Raila Amolo Odinga. Of course, we also heard from the family members who have told us who exactly Raila Amolo Odinga was from his childhood up until what we've actually had to see as Kenyans. The brother Uhuru Odinga saying that they were very close in terms of just growing up together, very close association and everything. They were very